Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So, today's topic is trainer education, and the title is Why You Should Compete in a Sport. So, this is for personal trainers, but anybody could kind of benefit from the information presented here. And the main reason why I believe trainers should compete in a sport is because you are being judged by your clientele on formal education, practical education, and appearance. So there's a ton of benefits for you yourself to compete. It kind of lets you see if what you know you can prove. So that's kind of a nice thing. And then it also just gives you a kind of more exciting, more motivation sometimes in training, knowing that it's going to lead somewhere. When you look as a trainer, though, the job aspect benefits is, as we said, you will be judged by formal education, practical education, and appearance. So for formal education, that's like degrees, certifications, and stuff like that. And those are extremely helpful for understanding the science behind what's happening. So when someone who's a trainer and they don't have formal education, they're going to be extremely limited in their understanding of what they do. They will know what they do does X in the cases that they've had so far in terms of their experience, but they won't know the science behind why that does what it does. So they'll say, okay, every time I've had somebody do chest flies, their bench has gotten better. But why? Or like the time under tension ranges. We've talked about that before. So if somebody wants to get their client stronger and they just have them doing like sets of twos and threes or singles, we know that that only focuses on technique improvement. That doesn't really help physical demands, and it can help mental demands if they're successful. So I've seen trainers program clients 1 rep maxes and they miss the lifts over and over again, and that does not help build mental strength. It actually erodes mental strength. So oftentimes what happens when you see a trainer who has practical education, so maybe they're the strongest person in the gym or the best looking person in the gym, so they have good practical education, they don't have the formal education, is you run into trainers who have that what worked for me mentality. So they'll make everybody do everything the way that they did it because that's what worked for them. And that's absolute horrible coaching, because without understanding the reasons why, they're going to apply information to people that maybe aren't the same as them. So one of the things I see all the time in the strength world is a coach will have a lifter squat the way that they squat, or deadlift the way that they deadlift, or bench the way they bench. But it isn't appropriate for the person they're working with. So maybe the person they're working with in terms of squats, maybe they have different length of femurs. Okay, maybe they have different angles of hip socket opening. Maybe they have different builds of torso, so lengths of torso. All that stuff influences the way somebody should stand when they squat. So if what worked for them was a wide stance, very uprighted squat, that isn't going to work for everyone else. So maybe their hip sockets could handle that angle and that weight load. But you get somebody with a different torso length, different femur length, different hip socket opening angles, and all of a sudden they squat like that and their hips are beat to shit and they have a lot of hip pain all the time. And then all of a sudden they give up lifting and they say, oh, squatting wasn't for me. No, squatting incorrectly for your body type wasn't for you. So if a trainer doesn't know that, so you'll see it in bench press all the time. So sometimes a person who bench presses and maybe they have a certain degree of arch and angle, and maybe their strengths are chest dominant, for example. So maybe they bring the bar down at kind of like almost like a J pathway, like almost like a rounded pathway rather than straight up and down, or even angled. So they might hold it over their collarbones, kind of a lockout. Then as they lower it, it shifts down towards like the top of their belly. It kind of hits them, and then they throw it back up over their collarbones. So that way of benching may work, like obviously with a bench shirt on, but if you're doing it without a bench shirt, typically that style of benching is just, hey, let me see if I can throw this weight around. It's not actually building physical strength. It's more like you're just taking advantage of momentum and angles, but you're not showing true strength. So often when you see that, Somebody who squats inappropriately for the body type, they bench inappropriately for the body type, they deadlift inappropriately, is you'll see them initially make some type of improvement because they're paying more attention to their form. And typically, when they sought out the improvement or the new technique or something, when they're brand new to lifting, is they're giving more attention to it than before. So they're maybe eating better, maybe sleeping better, maybe practicing better, so they're going to make technique improvement, but their physical demands are not going to improve well because what they're doing doesn't match their body type. They're going to get small annoyances. They're going to plateau in strength expression because all they were able to do at first was just get better technique. They refine the technique to what they're doing, but that technique doesn't match them. So it's not building over time physical strength, and over time it's actually wearing them down physically. So you'll see this where somebody picks up maybe a new way of deadlifting, they make a 20, 30 pound improvement, and then for the next freaking year, they're stuck the same with on and off pains. You'll see that in squats. Somebody makes maybe a 50, 60 pound jump in improvement, but then for the next year, they're stuck at a plateau and their hips hurt on and off all the time. So that's a good sign that what they're doing doesn't match their body type. They made an initial improvement because they got a technique advancement in terms of technique quality, but they didn't get good physical, and they're not going to eventually build very good mental because they're plateaued and stuck. So that's what you get with trainers who don't have formal education, is they just make everybody do what they did, and they don't know how to modify it for what's best for that individual. So often when you train, like if you're just the strongest trainer or the best looking trainer, or if that's what somebody looks for without formal education, their results for their clients are going to plateau relatively quickly within 3 to 6 months for sure. And so they're not going to get sustainable long-term results. And often they're going to cause pains on and off to their athletes. So they're going to kind of blow through athletes. So you'll see this if you look at their track record, and the track record of all clients, not just their successes, is they might have gone through 20 people in the last year. Only 3 of them really did well, but maybe 17 of them no longer even lift, or they do something different because they felt beat up and hurt, and the program and information they were told didn't match their body type. So you'll see that. But the unfortunate part is in social media and in conversations, you're going to only hear about the top 3, not the 17 that got the shit kicked out of them. So if you are somebody looking to hire a trainer, you have to do your due diligence to see who all that trainer has worked with. If you can't find the history, don't work with them. If you can find the history and they have a lot of people who just said like, yeah, I tried that stuff, but it didn't work for me, or I tried that and it hurt this and hurt that, or if you talk to them and you talk to 5 people and they all did the same freaking workout, then those are all really bad signs for that trainer. So how can we avoid doing that is by making sure that we have a formal education. So if you don't have a degree, if you don't have a certification of any kind, it would be helpful to get that. So that way you could have education in the science behind what is happening. Some ways around that is to train long enough at beginner level people, so that way you don't hurt them, and just gather experience over time, being aware of the fact that people are different, and you're constantly trying to find how can I best apply this information to who is in front of me today. Not saying this is what I've done for the last 20 people, so you're going to do it too. So that helps. You can also have a mentor. Things like that help a ton. So maybe you're not going to get, a formal degree or certification, but if you train under someone and they can teach you these things, that sometimes can actually be more helpful than certifications and degrees. So I, at our gym here, I've hosted interns over the years from the local university, and they'll have like an exercise science degree, but they don't know a damn thing about how to personalize stuff. So they don't teach them that in school. So they'll teach them, the science of things, but they don't necessarily teach how to squat to focus on your hamstrings versus focusing on your quads. So there are people who have degrees who don't know certain aspects of formal education. So just because someone has a degree doesn't mean they're a great trainer. So just because somebody doesn't have a degree doesn't mean they're going to be a bad trainer. Okay? So the best would be to have an understanding of the science of why things are working. So therefore you can apply the science to who is in front of you. And it may look different for 10 different clients. It may look the same for 5 out of the 10, but you're not going into it with an agenda to make it look the same. You're going into it with the agenda of what's best for this person in front of me. Now, The formal education is something we're kind of aware of. We know that there's degrees or certifications. There's ways to gather notable experience around formal education. How can we gather notable experience around practical education? And part of that would be competing. Other part of it is just doing what you do for a long time. So be a trainer for a couple of years. So I know people who've gotten into personal training, and within 1 or 2 years, they start writing ebooks and do a whole bunch of stupid shit. And and what I mean by that is they're looking well past beginners. So they try to position themselves as elite or advanced trainers, and it's like, with 2 years experience you absolutely cannot be elite or advanced. So if in 2 years they're writing ebooks or helping people on how to deadlift, or how to squat or how to bench or how to lose weight or how to get strong, if it's beginner based, then yeah, they know enough to help a beginner for sure. So that's great. So practical education, what that represents is taking the formal education and putting it in the real world. So when you put science to the test and say, okay, I read this in an article, I read this in a book, but now I've actually done it and I see firsthand what is true about it, what is not true about it, what maybe needs to be modified, blah, 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 blah. So that's what real strength is. That's what real knowledge is when you put science to the test and you take what you've read or heard and actually put action behind it. Okay, actionable knowledge. So that's what you look for. And practical education is really important because it helps to understand how things apply differently to different people and with different needs. So when you can take the science and apply it individually. So if I have 5 people, I might have 5 different ways that they need to squat, but all of them are maintaining proper hip angle. They're not like dumping their torso, their hips forward and overstraining their lower back. They're not in some position that hurts their hips or hurts their knees. So you take what is important for a squat to be healthy and strong, but you apply it to the individual person's body types. That's the benefit of practical knowledge combined with formal knowledge. Okay? And eventually, practical education, practical experience allows you to show what you know. So you can say, I have this certification, I have this degree. But if you say that and say, here I can show you that degree and certification being used, applied, and getting results. That is the goal. So again, as a trainer, you're judged on your formal education, your practical education, and appearance. Now, we're skipping the appearance part for this podcast, but how you look absolutely does play a role in portraying yourself as a trainer. So this is just the truth, not politically correct, of course. But if I'm 400 pounds and fat, and I'm telling everybody how to lose weight, it's bad marketing. Okay? So like they have that quote, like, you don't get financial advice from broke people. You don't learn how to get skinny from fat people. Now, again, this is not politically correct. Okay? Now, if the person is, say they're a little bit thick, and it's because they do a strength-based sport and their thickness helps them become a good athlete towards their sport. Okay, that's fine. Okay, because their body fat levels are purposeful and intentional. But if someone is overweight, fat, and they are giving advice to people how to get unfat, that there is a disconnect. So you can throw political correctness aside. It's just the truth of things. No one likes to know this, okay, or likes to hear this. But when I first started personal training, I was skinny fat. Absolutely, I started training people for money when I was 18. I started working out with weights when I was 16. Okay, and when I was 18, I wasn't really strong. I couldn't bench 225. I couldn't squat 315. Couldn't deadlift 315. I was about 6 foot tall, like 185-ish pounds, like 165, 185, with a fat roll around my belly. So I did not look the part. But in the past 2 years of my life, I had made large changes and I had made improvements. I just hadn't had enough time yet. So at that time, when I first started personal training, like around 18 or so, I didn't use Facebook. I don't think Instagram existed, but I didn't use social media to market myself. What helped me gain traction and turn it into a business was people I helped made progress. They made results. They were excited and they told other people. So I may not have looked like I could get someone to bench 405, but I was able to show that I could get someone to bench 405. I may not look like I'd ever stepped on stage, but I was able to show that I knew how to get people to step on stage and do well. So I was able, with enough clientele, to show what I knew, even if I personally didn't reflect that in my looks. Now, was that the best scenario? Hell no. It worked, but that was not the best. I mean, if I could have also looked good, I could have grown my business faster. But I had a long road to go, and it took me a long time to get to a physique that, without even opening my mouth, somebody could tell that I worked out and I did something. They may not know exactly what I do, but they know I did something above normal. They knew I worked out or exercised for some reason. That took years, years and years and years. And I'm actually thankful it did, because it kept me humble and it made me focus on knowledge as my true way of presenting myself to people. And what truly mattered wasn't how good I looked, it was how good I could make other people look. So by starting out really low in physical appearance, it really helped me better understand the importance of formal and practical education and knowledge, and made me focus on that. And it helped me become more educated and more experienced with the focus of other people, rather than just getting lost on focusing on myself. So now, physical appearance is a component. Can you overcome poor physical appearance? Yeah, absolutely. But why have to overcome it? Why make it a hard road? Okay. So if you can improve your appearance, please do. And if you're a personal trainer, you probably already are working on it. If you don't have great appearance yet, don't worry. Just keep working on it. It'll help. It'll happen over time. So I would say for me, I started personal training, like I said, for money when I was 18. And it probably wasn't until I was about 24, maybe 26, that I really actually looked like I kind of did something, but it was kind of like a chubby, big something. And it wasn't until maybe later in my late 20s that I was able to have a more refined look, where I was larger than normal but leaner than normal. That combination of larger and leaner. So whatever you want your combination to be, whatever your goal aesthetic is, if it's taking time, don't worry. That's fine. Just continue to improve your formal knowledge, continue to improve your practical knowledge, and just keep working on yourself and focusing on others, and it'll come with it over time. But make sure you're working on it. Okay, don't let that go to the side. Make sure you're taking care of yourself and your goals, and you can show in your body something, okay, in what you know. Now, why you should compete. One of the benefits of competing in a sport, whether it's, bodybuilding, aesthetics, bikini, figure fitness, whatever the hell, whether it's a strength sport like powerlifting or strongman or Highland Games, whatever it is. Maybe you compete in running. Maybe you like to do marathons. Maybe you like to do triathlons. Maybe you compete in cycling events. Maybe you compete in whatever the hell else people compete in. Okay? So, but compete in something. One of the benefits of that is it avoids some limitations for you. So often as trainers, when we want to show what we know, we will be limited by our clients. Either in the fact that our clients never listen fully to what we tell them. Okay? And that's absolute fact. They're not good. No one's perfect. So when you write the perfect training plan and the perfect nutrition plan, they are going to mess up. They're going to make mistakes. They're not going to follow it perfect all the time. Neither would you. So don't judge the shit out of them, okay? Because that's what I used to do. so don't judge people. So you may be perfect for short periods of times, but even you are not perfect every day all the time. So your clients are going to be limited in what they can show of your knowledge, because in part, they're only going to be doing part of what you say. They're never going to be doing fully everything you say. So all of your knowledge will not be fully shown in their actions. Also, clients are going to have certain limitations in their skills. So if you want to show how strong you can make somebody, and the clients you have now are all beginners, it's going to be a slow road. So you're not going to have the ability to show that you know what it takes to get somebody to, like, say, a national record if everybody you're working with is beginners. So you are going to be limited by your client's skill set. Now, when I first started, a lot of my clients had better skill sets than I did. So I was actually improved by that. So it was hell freaking yeah. I got to work with people who were maybe leaner than I was already, and they wanted to get on stage. Or they were stronger than I was already, and they wanted to get even stronger. So I started low enough in physical abilities that a lot of my clients were above me. And that actually helped me. Now, as I've gotten stronger, or as I've gotten bigger, as I've gotten leaner, there is limitations now. So I am able and lucky and fortunate to work with people who are like national level skills, who have pro cards and stuff. So still have people who are above me, absolutely, in physical abilities. But there's getting to be more and more below me in that sense. Like I'm be able to advance myself high enough now that it's getting fewer and fewer clients that are able to show my knowledge in their skill set. Okay. So another benefit is um, competing gives you a deeper understanding of what you're trying to teach your clients. So if you have a client who wants to do a physique show and you've never done a physique show, can you help them? Yes, it can be done for sure. But if you have also done a physique show, will that improve your ability to help them? Yes. So you're going to get first-hand experience. You're going to get exposure to more of the elements. So you're going to get exposure to the mindset of what it's like to compete. So you might know the physical stuff, how to get somebody, a good quad sweep, get them bigger biceps, get them a nice butt, something that would get them on stage. You might know some good stuff for strength. You might know what it takes to get them to a powerlifting meet and be able to have all their lifts count. But have you been under the pressure of the hot lights on stage with the judges staring at you? Have you been under the pressure of the bar, unracking the bar in a powerlifting meet, waiting for the commands, going through your cues while you're also hoping you don't screw everything up? So the mindset elements are things that often you don't get to understand until you put yourself in the same situation. What about weigh-ins? Like if you have people that have to have certain weight classes, if you've never competed before, maybe you're not going to have the best experience as to what it's like to make a weigh-in. Okay, so even travel concerns, if you've never done like a mock powerlifting meet outside of your own gym, what's it like to go to a different gym and do a powerlifting meet? Okay, a mock meet. So when we say you have to gain competition experience, it doesn't necessarily mean that right away you have to put yourself into a sanctioned competition. You can just have a mock powerlifting meet or a mock strongman event, or even pose for friends. You can do that stuff on your own before you do it official. Gain some experience, get some knowledge. But, for example, if you're going to help somebody at a powerlifting meet and you've never tried to max, 1 rep max, all 3 lifts in the same day, you're not going to know as much as you could possibly know to help that athlete the best you can. If you've never maxed all 3 lifts at a completely different gym at a weird time of the day. So maybe you always train in the evening, but powerlifting meets are at 9 frickin' a.m. If you don't put yourself in those same situations as a coach, how will you expect to be the best coach for someone when they are in those situations? So, competing helps you have better first-hand experience and exposure to more elements. It helps you avoid limitations by just being able to show what you know based on what your clients will listen to or what your clients are skill set are able to do. And also allows you to show what you know in the sense that you are your best advertising. Show what you can do. Now, when we say that, oftentimes the response I get from trainers I counsel and do consultations with is, what if I don't do well? Well, it's not about you. It's not about your performance. It's not about doing well. It's about becoming the best coach you can be. So, do some mock events, some kind of like on your own pressure events before you do sanctioned ones. And then, when you do sanctioned ones, remember that you're there to gain experience. So if you went to a strength event and you set a national record, but you didn't learn anything that could help a client, I'd argue that, was it potentially a waste of time? It might be good advertising, but it may not have made you a better coach. So you're not there to do the best you can do solely, okay? Obviously, I want you to do the best you can do, but you're there for more than just that. You're there to gain experience. So you think of the most famous coaches there are. Often they were involved in the sport. They were an athlete of the sport. But very few of them were ever Hall of Fame type athletes. They were okay. They were pretty good. Some of them mediocre, some of them pretty good, decent type. But often what helped them was they had the first-hand experience, but they also had the better understanding of what was going on and maybe some type of formal educational background to go with it. So the best coaches in the world have some first-hand experience. but they weren't the best athletes. So, for you to be the best trainer you can be, don't worry if you're not the best athlete. You're just there to be part of the game, get some more understanding, and focus on helping others become the best athlete. Okay? So we want you to do well, of course. But to be the best trainer, it's not focusing on yourself. It's focusing on how well you can help others. So you're going to compete to gain experience. So that way you can help others compete better as well. Okay? And if you're afraid that you might not do well, don't post about it. Not every single freaking thing you do has to go on social media. Okay? Imagine that. So you can just go do the experience, and if it goes well, then post about it. And maybe even share how you were worried and how you had like fear over that, but how you overcome it, had a great day, and you can help others do the same. And if it goes to shit and it was a horrible event and you bomb out or something goes horribly bad, don't show the videos and don't show the pictures. Just learn from it and move on. Okay? Now, if you want to, you can show that and just share that experience with others. But if you're afraid that that might lower your credibility as a trainer, then don't share it. But always avoiding improved experience because the experience might not go well is always going to hold you back as a trainer. So don't worry if you don't do the best. Just go do it. Gain some experience so you can become a better trainer. Okay? You can have a better understanding, and then also you can kind of present your knowledge in your own way. So if you feel like possibly right now you're being held back in your clientele quality because you're only working with beginners, then become advanced yourself. If you want better athletes, become a better one. If you feel like you're limited by the people you work with, okay? But chances are that there are going to be a mixture of people. There are going to be people who are under your skill set. There are going to be people above your skill set. So make them the best they can be, but also work on yourself too. There's a lot to be gained when you compete and you put yourself on the line as well. So it helps you become a better coach, helps you have like in everything. So better knowledge, better relational experience with your clients. It just helps all around. So if you are a trainer and you have not competed in something, what is your passion? What's something that excites you? So if you had to compete today, okay, and somebody said, that's it, you have to compete today, what would you compete in? Would it be an aesthetic type show? Would it be a strength type show? Would it be maybe an endurance thing? Maybe some other kind of fun, crazy, weird thing? Maybe you want to do, a series of like 3 mud run events. Like I think a Spartan Race has like 3 levels of stuff where there's like a beginner, intermediate, and like an advanced version of like mud runs. That's fine. That's a type of competition. Just put yourself out there, okay? What excites you? What motivates you? And go do it. Now, if you do need help, I'm going to offer our help. Okay? Now, this isn't why I made the podcast. But if you're afraid and you're not sure if you can do well at it and you don't know who to ask, email us, brutalirongym@gmail.com, and we'll help you out, okay? Now, if it's not our expertise, we'll tell you somebody who knows better than we do. So, for example, I can coach people how to get stronger at Olympic lifts, but I'm not great at the technical coaching of Olympic lifting. So I'm not going to take on an Olympic lifting athlete and being their sole coach. Now, I've worked with Olympic lifting athletes to get them stronger, but I was not their technique coach. So if you need technique help in that, we'll send you to somebody who knows more than I do, okay? But we'll help you out. So if you're a trainer who likes the idea of this and you just have been afraid to pull the trigger and actually compete on your own, first of all, remember, it's not about how well you do. It's about how well you learn and how then you can help your clients do better themselves, okay? And you don't have to post everything you do, okay? You can keep it under wraps and just kind of get the experience for the experience's sake. So if you need help, reach out to us and we'll help you out, okay? But hopefully that gave you some food for thought, gave you an idea that if you are a trainer, you should be competing in something. There's tons and tons of benefits to it. And if you're afraid, there really is no real reason for the fear. It's not about how well you do, and no one even needs to know. Just get the experience, have a better understanding, gain more practical education to go along with your formal education, okay? And kind of be your own expression of your knowledge. Don't rely on others solely, okay? Be an expression on your own. Cool. Okay, hopefully this helped. So if you're a trainer and you have any suggestions or ideas that you would like to have these podcasts be more focused about, so maybe there's something you want to learn more specifically as a trainer, please reach out to us. We love suggestions. So our email is brutalirongym@gmail.com. Just let us know anything that you might want to learn more about. Okay? Now, if you liked this podcast, please share it with family and friends. The more people we help, the happier the world will be. Also, if you like this information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. The podcast is for you, so we want to know what you want to learn about. And you can tell us more at our email at brutalirongym@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful. And thank you for listening. And thank you for watching.